My guest today is Ju. She is actually in contact with extraterrestrials and has a lot of interesting experiences that she's going to share with us today. Ju, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Hi, Rach. Very good. I'm glad and happy to be here and share my experiences.
Awesome. Well, as I always say, you are free to start at whatever point you feel is most relevant to the story, and you can take it from there.
Okay, I think I best start with I was born in South Korea and then adopted in Switzerland in the middle of Europe. And I think that was so. I believe we come here with a soul plan. There are certain routes we are supposed to take without, just remembering it. And that taught me very early to read energy. When you come from an Asian country into a country where the language is totally different, the culture is different, there's something you need to be able to rely on. And I started reading energy from very early on, but
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
realize what it really means. It just became normal to me,
Yeah.
like some, need to read the lips because they can't hear so well. So that was for me. And also I have a twin sister, so we communicated through telepathy a lot, just so the other people wouldn't know what we're talking about sometimes. So yeah, and then my life went a route like everyone, tries to find a good job, having a family, all these, cookie cutter things. And for a long time, I felt like I'm happy. This is what I want. But I got sicker and sicker. So it started for me with IBS, and the doctors couldn't help. And then the toxic relationship I was in, everything, the tower moment came. At some point, the tower moment came. I fell into a deep depression. I had to take medication and see psychiatrists. And I didn't like medications. I said, no, I don't want to take those. And just talking to someone weekly didn't help me either. So that's when I started to look into what are other ways to do it. And then I happened to meet a spiritual person, a psychic person actually. She sees future visions, and she's just right away said, "You're one of us." I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, she's like, "Well, you will find out. You have some gifts you have not activated yet." So I started with meditation and reading lots of different stuff. I mean, it started with, I think, with everyone, Abraham Hicks. It's like, what's this? But the way she did the manifestation courses, he always had this deeper thing in it, right? It wasn't just like, oh, you think of something and then you will attract it at some point. She always pointed out to a wound in a person, and that interested me a lot. So I got more into this and deeper meditation. And by the way, I cured my IBS just with meditation and healing and the frequencies, right? And I would think after a year of really meditation every day, yoga every day, going within, I was lying in bed, couldn't sleep. It was around 3 o'clock, turned on some more frequencies just to get me calmed down. And then the whole room started like to shake. So the static changed entirely. It's hard to explain, but when the electricity changes within a vessel, you see like blue light, lights going, and just you feel that the whole air is a bit shaking. And that's when this hologram came in. And the reason why they use that advanced hologram is they cannot solidify in this density because their energy is vibration is too high, and it would take them a lot of energy to do this. So what they do, they take your astral body. So they ask you, do you want this experience? And when you consent, and that you do through thought and your heart chakra. So when that is in line, then they open up. So I was in bed and I felt like, okay, something's coming. And then I hear this voice in my head, we are the Arcturian Council. And I really had no connection with them before. I read about them, but it didn't got my interest. I was like, oh, okay, so you do exist. And then this voice asked me, what is it you would like to do for humanity? What's your idea? And then I said, well, my dream is to have a center, the divine center for children like orphans and, abused children, to come in this center and heal alternatively, right? So really through meditation, to connect it back to nature, teach them how to grow plants, vegetables, all these things, just to bring them back, right? And to feel themselves and to be allowed to feel sad and all these emotions that society today doesn't want them to feel, right? You rather get a gender change than working on your emotions. So, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, then I said, okay, are you ready for a journey? Oh no, and then I said like out of the blue, something totally different, that you have a funny tooth. And that's probably the proof they wanted to leave me, that I do believe it next day when I wake up. So I had a crooked tooth here. And I knew it doesn't look great, but it didn't bother me enough to do something about it, I guess. So they said, you have, what kind of tooth do you got? And they came, and through frequency, they fixed it. It is fixed.
Wow.
I, and I didn't believe, but I felt the pain as well. It was, I mean, not very hard pain, but it was a bit painful. And I heard the sound like really at the dentist, when they start drilling in your, that kind of sound. And yeah, they fixed my tooth somehow. I don't know how.
Wow.
So then they said, like, are you ready for a journey? And I said, yes, I would like to. And then it really felt like I went backwards, flat, and then I saw a gate open, and it was the gate of the spaceship open up, and I levitated on my back, so my astral body, right? But I really felt like I'm lying there backwards, foot forward into the spaceship, and they turned me on my feet, and I really wanted to stop walking, and then I fell over, and they said, "Go slow. It takes time for you to do this in this environment." So it's a different pressure there. It's just different than from 3D, right? And then they showed me a museum. It's huge. I mean, these ships are huge. So they showed me a museum about humanity's evolution. So
Hmm.
really, where they manipulated our DNAs and genes and chromosomes. It was, we are a project.
Wow.
We are, you know,
Yeah.
they they created us and they tried things out, and they showed this really, they did have versions of humanoid and an animal head. That is real, actually. They tried out things to get to the best version they could produce. So that's why we are actually very special to them.
Hmm.
We are we are their best creation so far. Let's put it that way. So yeah, they showed me everything, and what they love about us is the drama. They say, "You humans, you are hilarious," but also they uh, admire us for having those emotions. They say, so from a certain density, you it's not that you don't have emotions anymore, but because the ego is not non-existent up there, it doesn't feel as deep, sadness or joy. It's more. kind of like same level, not these big up and downs. They don't have that, but they admire it. They say that is why actually a lot of starships come to Earth for their experience, because they miss that, this drama we
Hmm.
sometimes can create with our egos, right?
That's not surprising.
And then what I really found funny was they love the Simpsons, and the movies, Simpson movies. Was it Springfield?
Yeah.
They said, watch out for the details in that movie.
Hmm.
It has a lot of hidden information. Not hidden. It's like we should think about, that's crazy, that's not possible. But those things that appear most crazy, these are probably the things that are the true ones in there. So everyone, watch that movie, Simpson movie. It's it's good.
Okay.
When you watch it from a different angle, it's really good. Yeah, so they love the Simpson, well, which I found very funny.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of humor as well. As so, yeah, it's too much to now just explain what they've shown me, but they really admire us. And then they said, okay, this is enough for the first time, because it is also tiring for my body. At the end of the day, I mean, this vessel is giving me energy as well, right? So they said, okay, for the first time, it's enough. But interesting was that when I went to bed, I checked the time, and it was about 3 o'clock a.m. I was back in my bed at 3:30 a.m., just after 30 minutes, but it felt to me I spent like 2 weeks
Hmm.
up in the ship. And there it is again, this, the time does not exist. Everything happens at, at once. But when we come down here, we start experiencing it in sequence. It's like, imagine you shine a torch in the dark down, right? And then you see the light going like this out. So the density up here, it's packed with so much. When it comes down, we have to go around the lights. So that's an analogy I was given.
Hmm.
And everything is really at once in your head, and it takes some time to work it all out. I mean, some stuff you just forget, and then maybe 2 months later it's like, oh yes, that was as well part of it. So I really have a journal where I write everything down. So yeah, have you a question to that
Yeah,
part?
yeah. I'm curious. Why would you say they chose you? Would you say you were one of them and maybe volunteered to come down here, or did you get an explanation for that?
Yeah, so what's really obvious, and they said it's like the life we have in 3D, or every reincarnation we have, is really like a contract. So free will actually is misinterpreted here in 3D. It feels like free will, but it's not at the end of the day. If you think about all these tower moments we experience, or some people like NDE, which you didn't think, you didn't want to. It was spontaneous, but it was in your soul contract. It is part of your soul contract. So free will, with free will, we create our soul plan. That
So
is that is done with free will. But once you're down in 3D, we have like a threshold. Okay, you can go that far in, or you can go that far down.
yeah.
But if you get over this threshold, then your higher self steps in, and that was always agreed as well. This emergency stops, right?
Yeah. So is it kind of like a writing process? Like if you were writing and directing a movie, the free will part is during the writing process, but then
Exactly.
you come down here, it plays out.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
That makes
And then
sense.
you have the director who says like, okay, this is not exactly the way I want it. And the director is your higher self, because that your higher self has the whole plan, all the plans, right? It's all. And so yeah, star seeds agree to a special work, let's say some say missions, right? That is part of their soul ascension. So we don't only have an ascension here in 3D, we have a soul ascension as well. So let's say when people speak about 5D, it really means it's the fourth density, right? So we now graduate from third density to fourth density, as in like 3D to 5D. And the 4D, many people don't quite get what's the 4D supposed to be. And the way they explained it to me is like, we built Earth as above, so below. And what then the negative entity did, they inverted the version of 3D here. We built as above, so below. So they created a below to Earth, right? And that's the 4D. And that's what they say is time brought into play when time was created. These loops you get, like the bad entities who get caught in 4D don't really get away from it. They can't go up to 5D. That is created through time. And
Okay.
even Einstein said time has 3 dimensions, right?
Hmm. Did you happen to this is one of the things that I always try to pick at and poke at because this is a big topic that goes across the spiritual community. Did you happen to get a glimpse of Earth from up there and maybe see exactly what the makeup of it is? If it, because there's been people who say that Earth is actually like a spaceship that's traveling through, and then some people say no, it's just a flat plane that we're on with a dome over it. And some people say
It's
no, it doesn't
definitely a
matter.
sphere, because that's how our universe operates, right? Everything is a sphere.
Okay.
So the sun is a sphere, the moon is a sphere, every planet is a sphere, right? And a comet or a meteoroid, they have different shapes, and they move differently. They don't go in a circle, right? And this is geometry then, right? That is
Yeah.
really sacred geometry. But sphere is the thing of our universe.
Well,
That's
I have another question real quick. I'm not trying to go all the way down that road,
no.
but I do have one question because I've studied so intensely both sides of that argument. What I've come up with is my own little theory that I feel like the Earth is a sphere, but it's bigger than what we think. So maybe the continents that we are told is the whole Earth is maybe just one spot, and there's a lot more to Earth than we know about. Would you maybe agree that that might be accurate?
So I was shown that very in the beginning, very billions years back, after the fluid had created to be mass, more dense mass like stone and all, earth, and it was one plate. So all the continents were one plate, and then they started to split through as well the rotation, and the gravity started, the atmosphere started to change, so the gravity started to change. So and then it pulled everything apart. But there are also parts of it we don't see.
Mm,
They're underwater now. but at some point in time, they were above water, right? So when you say you feel that the continents are bigger, yes, they are bigger, but right now we don't see all of it because a
Mm,
lot is underwater after the flood, right? When the flood happened. So that's what I could say to this.
okay. I was just curious and wanted another
Yeah.
perspective on that. That's very interesting, though. Is this something that you do like on a regular basis? Are you in regular contact with them?
So what they don't want is that we get attached to them, right? So they come only in again on agreed times, which is on the in that soul contract. It's a really point. Everything's really. If I've seen a soul contract, and I'm not saying they all look that way because the frequency is different. So it's not matter as intense. It is really like more what you see now on a computer screen and a holographic kind of view. But there's a lot of nearly every move is in the contract and who you meet just walking passing on the street or the guy next to you at the traffic light, that
Hmm.
guy is in that contract too, you
Yeah.
know. But we forget everything because this vessel that couldn't take it. So if we could not have this amnesia by birth, this vessel wouldn't make it.
Yeah, and isn't that kind of like part of it too? Like that's the point is to come and forget. Just
Remember,
yeah,
you need to. The main thing is when I work with my clients is really you need to be authentic. All that counts is you finding yourself in these illusions, all these illusions 3D brings us, right? And when you find that, you will remember, you will activate DNA, like this 95% junk DNA we carry. Guess what's in there? Stored. It's our memories from all the lives and the future lives already imprinted in us in the DNA.
yeah. I catch glimpses of it sometimes, and it's just so intense that I can't hold on to it for longer than maybe I think 5 seconds is the longest I've caught a glimpse, and they hit me all the time. You know, it's like a flashback from so long ago, and it's just
Yeah,
a glimpse of being somebody else, and it's so intense that I can't even hold on to it for very long, and it runs away. You know.
yeah. So what I see is that you still have to work on your lower chakras.
I hear that all the time. That's what everybody
It's just
tells me.
I
Yeah.
see that, right?
Yeah.
And also, I watched, as I said, I watched all the videos, right? So your experience, your NDE, right? And now you kind of like cannot go into that astral realm right now because you get scared. Do you feel like it pulls sometimes or a pull out
Yeah.
like this? Yeah, and then
Hmm.
you say no to this because you're scared,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, have you thought about this? The thing is, I watch stuff and then I get downloads,
Okay.
about people talking. It's like, okay, it's that. So the reason why you're scared is you had a bad experience. You, you, so your experience, your ego tells you it was bad, negative, dark, right? And the way you speak about that time, who you were, I just received you haven't thanked that version. You have this. You feel more resentful than thankful for that version.
Yeah.
Could that be right?
Yeah.
You need to be. You have to. embrace that version as much as you embrace yourself now.
Yeah, it's a strange process where I go back and I'm not all the way back yet, but I keep going back little bit by little bit and falling in love with old versions of myself.
Yeah,
And I'm not quite to that part yet, but I'm still I'm on that journey, and that's going to be
yeah,
a difficult one. That one's going to be very difficult, but I see
it
what you
is.
mean.
Yeah. So once you've done that, you will be astral traveling right away, I tell you.
Really. Hmm,
Yeah,
that's
you will
fascinating.
be you will be going places. And the cool thing is, so that's where I'm still working on is I don't do it controlled yet. So I can say yes, I want to astral travel, but then it takes me places which I thought I haven't chosen. But then again, they were chosen. Just I didn't, my ego tells me no, that's not where I want to go, right?
Hmm.
So I'm working on that. That I really feel confident with saying I'm gonna go there now, and that's what I want to experience. But then again, as I said, I'm not a stalker, so I'm not. Maybe I have this feeling in me that I might be stalking,
Yeah.
right? So I let my higher self choose at this point. But it's incredible what you can find out, and this for me is about knowledge, right? So everyone is talking about there's a library underneath the Sphinx. So I did astral travel there, and that's how spirit or my higher self works with me. So I go there and I saw just water. I was like, yeah, we know that water's there, but there should be other chambers, right? Something. And I was like, for 5 minutes just in water. It's like, okay, maybe not today. The next day, I go on YouTube, and then something caught my interest. It was a documentary about how technology is now testing the capacity of what they could store in water. In a drop of water, that can store a lot more memory than any chip we know now.
Hmm.
And it's basically in the DNA of the water. So I was like, okay, there is no library as such. It's stored in codes, in DNAs in the water underneath in the Sphinx. The next video my interest got caught with was then a guy who's also a spiritual teacher who remembers Atlantis and all that stuff, and he's on Gaia, and he says exactly the same thing. So now I have to trust that I do experience the right things, and I shouldn't always question myself that can't be true, right? So like I will feel like you must be crazy. Who thinks something like that? So that's how spirit makes me verify the information I got with facts that are out there, right? So I wouldn't go out and before I didn't check anything I could find about this topic from each angle, though, even mainstream science. I always find that connection in that field as well, and I find it very fascinating. Yeah,
It is. That is very fascinating. We've used water for manifestation, putting intention into it. And
exactly.
there's been a couple of
Of course.
times where some really amazing things have happened. So
Yeah, yeah.
did you happen to catch at any point in time during some of your experiences where we're headed as far as humanity goes and whether or not we're making good progress?
I I've said that for 2 years now. The war is won. So what we experience right now here is sort of imagine you you have it change up in this density. It takes time until it trickles down, and then we have the density of 3D, right? And then that's like goo for energy to move around, right? So it's really slow compared to up here. So up here, it's one, and down here, it'll just COVID just moved the timeline for those 2 years, right?
Still
So
playing
we're
out.
delayed. It seems like we're delayed, but that was COVID, and that was obviously orchestrated from the darker side
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to, they just don't want to lose. They still feel like they can win, even
Yeah.
though they know they can't, right?
Yeah.
So they try all this crazy stuff now, but we win. But I have also to say that there's going to be many souls that agreed not to graduate, right? So they will repeat the 3D experience. They will not graduate to the fourth density. So they
Yeah.
will not go up to 5D.
Yeah.
But that was agreed already. They knew that, right? So it's the ones that die of the jab, the ones that die of a disease, the ones that die of COVID itself. That was in the contract. That's part of it.
That's
So,
fascinating.
yeah.
Well, anyway, before I wrap this up, would you want to share a positive message for the viewers?
So, as we all know, what we focus our energy on is going to manifest. The best thing to go through this time right now is really try not to watch mainstream news, mainstream media, unless you know your vibration is high enough to handle the information and see the bigger picture. But if that's still worrying you, then stop. Build a bubble with your energy and just know it's going to be good. It's going to be good because that's going to solidify, right? And every single person doing it really pushes the frequency up for the collective. One person does make a difference.
All right.
So
Well,
yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that. That was fascinating. I'm probably going to watch this back 3 or 4 times just to try to take it all in.
If you have questions about anything, just send me an email. Just shoot a
Okay, yeah,
question.
I forgot to ask, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
So funny enough, the Divine closed all my social media accounts. I can't access them anymore. I don't know. I forgot the passwords, whatever. So right now it's just over my email, which is truebomb72@gmail.com. And yes, you can
Okay.
reach out.
All
You
right, I will
can,
link.
yeah.
I was just going to say I'll link that in the description of the video. But thank you again, Ju, for joining me. I wish you the best and you have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.